Alright, well, it's time to deal with the broken emergency brake on the truck. There's the rusted off part. And what I have to do is get this apart. Unfortunately, it's all rusted together. So what I'm going to do is use the grinder and just grind off this sheet metal deal. I want to leave the cable and that cable end piece that's inside intact, and then I have the new part to go on. Alright, here we go. Okay, after a bunch of grinding on the far side, it comes right off. So now we put the new part on. That's the new intermediate parking brake cable. This is a part you need to be a little bit careful about because there's all different lengths. What GM does is they have different frame sizes on these trucks depending on whether it's crew cab, extended cab, full bed, short bed, short bed, and all that. They have a common setup for the rear going to the wheels, and they have a common setup on the front going up to the parking brake pedal. And where they change that length is with this intermediate cable. There's like a dozen different lengths. You have to check this to make sure that you have the right size. And I'd strongly suggest measuring it. And the measurement is from that end right there, which has the connector to the two rear brake cables, and then this end up here, which you saw us just grind off, which is the connector to the front brake cable. So when you take this off, even if it's rusted apart, just measure the distance from the end of the front cable to the beginning of the rear cables, and make sure you're getting the right one when you're at the parts store. So let's put this sucker on. Okay, I gave everything a good coating of Never Sees, and now I just got to put the back on. The back goes on first, and it goes on like this. You take the side with the holes, turn it away from you, and it goes... This is really hard to do one-handed. And you just slip it over the ends like this, and then turn. And then it's in. And obviously everything's gotten a good coating of Never Sees. That's why my hands are all silvery. There's an adjustment screw at the end. We'll work with that in a bit. Okay, and it's done. It took a lot of prying with a screwdriver and pulling to get this in. It wasn't fun, it wasn't pretty, but it did end up back in there. And then you go through. Remember to go through the holes here in this bracket, which I didn't at first. I did have to take the nut completely off this and free the cable to get the front end on, and I just put it back on. Now I've just got to test it and adjust just by tightening or loosening that nut. That's the adjustment, and get the parking brake right. So that should be it for the parking brake. Adios.